Your brother was a danger to us all. So I handcuffed him on a roof, hooked him to a piece of metal. He's still there.
Okay, so this is going to be part 3. I think maybe the last part for the Legos character creator. So what we left off with, let's just review real quick. So with the top layer is our characters that can be rotated in 3D space. And if you've watched the first 2 videos, you know that groups are what's controlling the animations for this. So if I click on the upper body and use the XY rotation, I can turn my character's waist, and it moves all the upper parts, the arm, head, and body. If I grab the arms, I can actually grab those and turn those in 3D space. And if I go into the subfolders, I can bend the elbows, and the hands, I can hold shift and option and drag left and right and rotate the wrist of the character as well. And I'm just going to Command Z to back up out of everything. And then the only parts that have smart bones for movement are the legs. So if we go to the top layer and go into the timeline, and I hit T, and you can see I can move the character's legs forward and backwards, and I can add a slight tilt to them left and right. Probably won't use that much, but yeah, you can bend the character's legs so he can be sitting down. Let me go ahead and use the XY rotate so you can see that we can have our character sitting. So if we need to have him driving a car or her driving a car, we can do that and position the arms by clicking on the groups and just turning them. Same with the left arm, bring that up, go into the subgroup and move that around. And we can position our character like that. So just a quick review over what we created in parts 1 and 2. But now we're going to get into making some details to the character and adding the switch layers so we can have the character's face animate. Also, in the head group, last time I made a baseball cap, and I actually went back and I just extruded the cap's bill instead of using inflate. I think that looks better. So if I turn the head, it's just flat now, but I think that works a little bit better as far as rendering goes. And then actually I'll create a new group because I have the baseball cap itself for just the, if you use that, you can use that like as a fez hat, or Shriner's hat, I think. But then the bill, we'll go ahead and put a group in here and just call it baseball cap. Well, just baseball cap, and then drag it into the head group, and then just drag the bill and the main part of the cap together. So now we can just turn that off and on together. Then I also had the cowboy hat, or I don't know what kind of hat this is. It's a really big rimmed hat, but we'll just turn those off for right now. Oops, turn off the hats and focus on making the face parts. So let's go ahead and rig the face. So I'm gonna zoom up real quick, and I think, let me make sure everything is reset. Oops. And okay, I just want to make sure our character's facing forward. And the face is just one layer by itself. It's got the eyes, eyebrows, and mouth. And we're gonna separate everything and put switch layers in there for them. So let's go ahead and start off by grabbing the eyes first. So I'm gonna hit G, and I'll go ahead and drag over the first eyeball, and then hold shift down, grab the right side eyeball, and I'm gonna hit T and then Command X, and that's just gonna cut it and put it in the clipboard. And we'll create a new vector layer, and we'll just call this neutral. And then hit Command V to paste. Now what it's doing is it's pasting those eyes, but it's inside of the head, because if I turn the head group, you can see it's right in the center. So we need to bring that the eyes forward. So let's go ahead and click on the face, because we had already brung the face forward in the first video. And let's see where it is in the Z space, or in the 3D space. So the Z coordinate is 0.2558. So I'm just gonna highlight that. Then I'll do a Command C to copy. We'll go to the neutral eyes that we just placed, and then in the Z coordinates do a Command V and paste. That just brings them forward. And let's change the point of origin and just put it closer to the eyes. And I'm gonna set the X coordinate to 0 just to make sure it's right in the center. Hit return. And now they're a little too high, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring them back down. Like right about there. And let's go ahead and create some different eye shapes really quick. We'll create a switch layer. So go to Vector, Switch, and we'll call this Eyes. Drag the neutral eyes that we just made into that, like that. And then using what we already have, let's go ahead and just copy. So we'll just duplicate layer, and we'll call this one Blink. We'll hit return. And I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to hit T, and I'm going to go ahead and delete the highlights. And then I'll hit G, and I'm going to grab the top and bottom points of this eye, holding shift down, do the same with this side. And then I'll hit T to transform the layer, or points, and then I'm just going to squish those together like he's blinking. And then I'll hit G, and I'll go ahead and grab these side points of the eye. Just click and drag over. Oh. Hold G, hold shift down, and I'm just gonna grab all of these really quick, and hit C to curve these down so they just look more regular. So then we have the blink eyes. Let's go ahead and duplicate that, and we'll just call this happy. And I'll hit G, and I'll go ahead and grab these points here in the center, and hold shift and grab the center ones and hit T, and then move those up. So that's our happy kind of blink. And then we'll duplicate that layer, call this sad. And then just move those down. Like that. And now we have 4 different eyes. And then let's go back to the face. Let's go ahead and hit G and grab the eyebrows. We'll do the eyebrows separately so we have more facial expressions. We're going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to do a Command X, and that's going to cut it. We'll do a new vector layer, and we'll just call this happy. This is because the eyebrows were already up, so we'll just call it happy. And then I'll do a Command V to paste. And remember, we need to move this forward. So I'm going to hit the transform layer tool, and under the Z coordinate, I'll do a Command V to paste. And that's going to put that coordinate in of 0.2558 again, and it's just going to bring that forward. And then we'll go ahead and create a switch layer. So I'll do switch, call this eyebrows, and make sure you drag the one we just made, happy, into the eyebrows. And then we'll go ahead and duplicate that layer. We'll call this one neutral. And for the eyebrows being neutral, we'll just make them go straight across. So we'll just drag these points down so they're pretty straight, like that. Drag this one down, kind of straighten that out. And I'm going to change the eyes to neutral just so we have the regular eyes. So here's the neutral eyebrows. Let's go ahead and do worried. So duplicate the neutral one. We'll retype the name worried. And for worried, we can just grab these endpoints and move them up. So it's kind of a worried look. And then let's do another one. Copy the worried eyebrow, and then we'll call this angry. For this one, we'll go ahead and just move the eyebrows down and turn them. Grab this one, move it down, grab the inside of the first box and turn it. Get that kind of lined up. Like that. And let's see, let's do puzzled. So I'll copy that one, call it puzzled. And for this one, we'll go ahead and turn one eyebrow up like that, and then let's go ahead and move this one up like this. Maybe move that out a little bit. Okay. All right, so now we have switch layers for the eyes and the eyebrows, and we can switch between them by just right-clicking and choosing them. But I'll make smart bone actions for them so it's a little easier to animate. Or maybe not, since we have to rotate them in 3D space. Yeah, I will, and then we can get rid of them if we don't like it. Then we need to do the mouths. So let's go to neutral. Let's go to change the face to happy. So now all we have left is the mouth that was left on that face layer. Let's go ahead and rename this mouth shape, because we're going to actually use 2 different layers to make the mouths. So here's the mouth shape. I'll go ahead and open this up and make it just a circle or an oval to start off with. And let's move this down for a second. And then we're going to make another layer. We'll go ahead and call this new vector layer mouth pieces. So this is going to have the tongue and the teeth. And we'll go ahead and draw, let's select pink and create a new shape and circle. Go ahead and draw tongue. And because this is a new layer, we need to make sure that we bring it up or bring it forward. So let's go ahead and select the transform layer tool. Select the Z coordinate and do a command V to paste again. This is that 0.2558. And let's go ahead and move that tongue over. And we want to use some masking. So we're going to create a group, not a switch group, but just a regular group. And we're just going to call this, our first mouth will be ah. So I'm going to type in A-H and grab the mouth pieces and the mouth shape and drag those into that folder. And we want to use some masking. So right now, if I grab the mouth pieces like the tongue, if we move it, it's going to be outside of the mouth. We want it to be masked in the mouth. So double click the ah folder, go to masking, hide all, and apply. Then we need to double click the mouth shape and do one more thing. We need to go to masking and extrude strokes and apply. So now if I grab the mouth pieces and move the tongue, you can see that it stays inside the mouth. It's just being masked inside of the mouth. So with that, let's move this tongue down, and then I'm going to hit S or create new shape. And then I'm going to select white for the fill, and we're going to draw the teeth. So I'll just draw the bottom teeth. Oh, let's use the square or the rectangle tool. So here's the bottom teeth, and here's the top teeth. There we go. But since this first mouth that we're making is the ah sound, let's go ahead and move the mouth pieces. We'll go ahead and move the teeth down and move the tongue up a little bit. Maybe move there we go. Move the teeth up on the upper part. And I think that looks like a good ah shape. But now we need to make switch layers, because we are going to use switch layers for the mouths as well. So we need to go to new layer, switch, and we'll call this mouths. And then grab that group folder that we made and drag it into the mouths, to the switch layer, So we have the ah sound. And we're going to just duplicate that. So hit duplicate. We'll call this eh. And then we need to go into the mouths and use the mouth pieces. I'm going to go ahead and grab the teeth, bring the teeth a little bit closer together, select the mouth shape and maybe close it just a little bit at the bottom. Maybe bring the teeth, upper teeth down a little bit too, so they're closer together. So now we have the eh mouth. And then consonants, we'll go ahead and duplicate the EH mouth and call this cons. And again, we're just going to bring the pieces together. So now the teeth should be right next to each other, like the teeth are touching. And I'll move that together like that. And then let's go ahead and duplicate that. Let's do the O mouth, and for the O mouth, let's select the mouth pieces. Let's just move the teeth out of the way. And the tongue. And then just grab the mouth shape and let's go ahead and smush it. I'm holding Option down so it stretches it uniformly. Like that. There's the O mouth. Let's see what else we need. We need L. So let's use the ah mouth and duplicate that. Call this L. And for the L sound, let's go ahead and grab the mouthpieces, grab the tongue, touch the roof of the mouth or just under the teeth. Change the mouth shape a little bit. I'll bring this up. Bring the corners down a little bit, maybe. And then, what else do we need? Oh, FV. So F or V, comma V. We need to do another changing of the mouthpieces. Let's move the teeth down a little bit, like right about here. And then F and V, let's do the mouth shape. And I'm going to grab the bottom point, move this up so it's touching the teeth a little bit. Then I'm going to hit A and add a couple points. Like this. And I'm just making little creases in the mouth. So little lines. So I'm going to hit U, select the line, and hit spacebar or create shape. And create shape. And this just makes it look like the character's kind of doing the putting his teeth on the bottom lip a little bit is what I'm trying to make it look like. So maybe even curl up the edges of the mouth a little bit so there's a F sound. It looks weird, but when we're doing lip syncing, you'll see how that works. Let's use ah again. Let's do a scream. So we'll duplicate this, we'll do scream. And change the mouth shape. Let's go ahead and open that up a little more. Maybe add points, so I hit A. So we can change that mouth shape a little bit more and make him look more like he's screaming. Grab the mouth pieces. I'll grab the tongue. Move that up a little bit. Move the teeth up. Stretch those out. And maybe make the teeth even crooked so it just looks a little bit more frantic. So there's like a good scream. And we can keep adding more and more mouths. Let's go ahead and add smiles and neutral and all that kind of stuff. So let's go with ah. I'll copy this. I'll type in neutral. So this will just be our neutral mouth, just straight across. So all we need to worry about is the mouth shape. So I'll grab that, hold Option down, squish it together, hit T, grab these endpoints and just straighten that out so it's just a straight across mouth. Then I can copy the neutral, call this smile. We'll just grab the mouth shape parts and I'm holding G down, or Shift down and grabbing the endpoints, hitting T, moving those up so we have a smile. We'll duplicate that, call it frown. Select our mouth shape pieces. It still has those points selected, so we'll just turn it down so he has a sad face. Let's do smile and duplicate that, and we'll do smile with teeth. And I'll go inside that folder, change the mouth shape. I'll open the mouth up and grab those teeth, put those together. So we've got a smile with teeth. I'll duplicate that and we'll say frown with teeth. And oops, frown with teeth. Go ahead and open that, change the mouse shape. I'll just hold G, or hit G, hold Shift down and select the endpoints, hit T and move those down so he's got a frown instead with the teeth. Maybe curve these edges out a little bit. And now we've got a whole big set of, like, what? 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 different mouths in just a couple minutes. And let me go ahead and rearrange these because I want to do neutral up top. So I'm going to drag this to the top, and then ah, and then eh. I'm just putting these in order of how much I really use them. So ah, eh, cons, o, f, v, l, and then the scream and the frown and all those other ones are at the very bottom. But we'll go ahead and right click the switch layer and select neutral. So we just have that. Let's do smile. I think that's a better. So we'll do smile like that. So now we have a big selection of mouths that we can keep adding to that too. So now we have switch layers for the eyes, eyebrows, and mouth. So let's go ahead and create smart bones. We don't need to, but I like to use smart bones for animating. It just seems to go really fast with that. So remember to select the head group because that's where our switch layers are. And they need to be directly below the bone layer. So just to make those work. So I'm going to hit A with the bone layer selected, draw a bone, and I'll rename it. I'll call this eyes. Hit B. Oh, let's turn down the strength. So select the bone strength, turn that down first, then hit B, turn the color on, show label, and then we'll go ahead and open up the actions. And while we're on the bone layer, select smart bones and a new smart bone action. We'll call it eyes. Make sure it's named exactly what the bone is. And if you did it correct, it should be blue, turn blue down here on the timeline. And for the eyes, let's go ahead and right click, select neutral. That's going to make a new keyframe. I'll hit the right arrow key on my keyboard. It moves it one space over. I'll right click and then I'll select blink. And then I'll hit the right arrow on my keyboard again to go one frame over. We'll select happy, right arrow, right click, and sad. So now we have those 4 different eye positions. And then last but not least, remember to go back to the bone group, and then let's hit T and start to rotate our eyes, our eye bone, and then hold Shift down. And I'm just going to rotate it to the right. So now you can see that it cycles through those eyes that we've created when we move this bone. So go back to the timeline, hit B, click on the canvas so we don't have any bones selected. B, there we go. So that's deselected. Now we're going to create another bone. Hit A. I'll drag up, draw this bone, turn the bone strength down, left click and drag to the left. hit B, and we'll rename this one eyebrows. Eyebrows. And turn on the color and the label. We already have the actions opened up, and we are selected, the bone layer is selected, so we'll go ahead and do new smart bone action. Type in eyebrows. If you did it correctly, it'll turn blue in the timeline again. And we're going to do the same exact thing. We'll go ahead and right-click eyebrows, our switch layers. And the first one we can make happy. It'll start creating keyframes. I'll hit right arrow, go over one, right-click the eyebrow folder, then we'll do neutral, right arrow, right-click, select worried, right arrow, right click, select angry, right arrow, right click, and puzzled. So we have all 5 of those eyebrows that we created. And then again, don't forget to go back to the bone layer while you're still in your action. Hit T, start rotating the bone, and then hold shift down and snap it to the right. So now we have smart bone action for the eyebrows. And double click back into the timeline. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and do the mouths. So I will click on the head group, hit B, click on the canvas, make sure neither one of these are selected. Hit A, we'll go ahead and drag and drop a new bone. We'll click on bone strength, left click and drag to the left so it's turned off the bone strength. And then hit B, rename this mouths, and then turn on the color and the label just so we know what it is. And one last time, we'll create a new smart bone action for this as well. So with the bone layer selected, smart bones, new smart bone action, call it mouths. And it is correct because it's blue down here. So we'll right click on the mouths, and let's go ahead and select neutral for our first keyframe. Or no, let's do smile. Smile first, and then hit right arrow so we move over one. Then we'll start with neutral, right arrow, right click, select ah, right arrow, right click, select eh, right arrow, right click, cons, and we'll just keep doing that for all the mouse. So all I'm doing is moving one frame over and then selecting the next mouth, making keyframes for each position. And then we already have smile at the bottom, so that's all of the mouse that we made. And then go ahead and select the bone layer. Hit T, hit select the center and start rotating, and we'll go hold shift and just turn it all the way to the right, and then double click back into the timeline, and now we have a rigged face. So let's check it out. Hold on, let me go back into mouths real quick. Mouths. Oops, I rotated it on frame 0. We need to go back to make sure that it's up on frame 0, and then we need to go to the very last mouth right there, and then turn it so it cycles through. There we go. Now let's go into the timeline and just test it out. So I can grab the eyebrows and I can change those in any way. I can change the mouth so our character can talk, and then we can have the character blink. And all of these, because they're in the head group, we should be able to grab the head group and turn it, and it should still work no matter what. It does move the smart bones, so if it's turned all the way around, it's going to be a little tricky. So you should animate the mouth and the eyes, or the face first, and then do some turning. But again, we can come back in here, and all of those should still work, regardless of which way our character's facing. Yep, that looks good. So now that we have our face rigged, now also I want to keep in mind, you don't have to use smart bones. You can actually just go into the switch layers and just pick which one you want. If you don't, oh, hold on. Okay, so if you don't want to use smart bones, you can just use the switch layers by right-clicking and selecting them instead. I just find it a little faster for me to animate with smart bones for the face. Okay, so now, also if you remember, we have color styles in this character. So if I go into shirt color, I can actually change the shirt color really fast. I can select shirt color 2, hold shift down and select that color, and we can really start detailing our character or making it more of how we want it to look. So, but then the other thing is that I wanted to show you, let's undo this real quick. Let's say I want to make my character more of a specialized character or a specialized look. I'm going to use this picture right here of Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. Something's turned a little bit. Let me see here. I don't know why, but you can see it's a little distorted. There we go. I had the body turned a little bit. So I want to make this kind of shirt for my character, but we can't draw directly on what we've created for the body because it's gonna we'll be able to see through it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just using this Rick Grimes Lego as a reference. I'm gonna select the body, I'm gonna duplicate it, and I'm gonna call this shirt. And then I'm gonna go ahead and let me rotate our Lego guy so you can kind of see. So the shirt is just a duplication of the 3D body image, but we want to make it just a flat picture that we can draw on. So I'm gonna hit Q, or actually let's double click the shirt and turn off the 3D options because we just duplicated it. The reason I duplicated the shirt instead of drawing a new one is because I want it to be the exact same size. So let's put none on 3D conversion, hit apply. But remember, it's in the center of the character now. So let me change the color so you can see. Turn the shirt color off so you can see where it actually is. So if I'm rotating the character, you see that shirt layer is actually in the dead center of our character, and we need to move it forward just like we did the face. So let's select the shirt, use transform layer, and let's go ahead and do a Command V and paste, and it still has that coordinate of the face. It's actually coming up in the same space as the face. Let me rotate it again so you can see. But it's way too far out in front of the character. We want it to be kind of flush, or just above where our character's 3D body starts. So let's reset. I'm gonna hold Shift and Option down, and I'm gonna rotate the character to an exact 90 degrees. And I'm gonna hit Q, select that shirt. Let's do a little darker color so we can see it better. So there it is, floating in 3D space. We need to select the transform layer tool, and I'm gonna click in the Z coordinate, and I'm gonna just pull it back till it snaps right in front of the character. And I think, let's turn him around a little bit to see where yeah, see how it's laying right on his chest? That's exactly what we want. So let's go ahead and rotate our character back forward. So now we can go ahead and draw on this. So I'm just going to use this kind of as a reference. Let's turn off the body and let's focus on the shirt. turn the stroke on. So all I'm gonna do now, let's turn the head off too so we can really focus on the head and the arms. So now I'm gonna hit A, and I'm just gonna add some points. So this will be like his collar. And I'm not gonna fill anything in yet. I'm just kind of drawing this stuff. Let's go ahead and make the collar. We'll make this collar on this side. And I'm using C to curve these out. Let's add another point here for the overlap of the shirt. And I'll hit S. I'm going to use the square tool and draw the pocket. Let's change this color. I'll use the color from I'm using the eyedropper and just pulling it off this reference image. So we got that color. I'll hit A to add more points. And draw the pocket. Let me hit T, and I'm just clicking on the lines, not the points, but the lines, and I'm just moving those up. And let's make that shirt the same color. So I'll select it with hit Q and select it, then I'll use the eyedropper and we'll just grab that same color. And hit U. I just want to put the stroke on here. Hit S. Let's make a button. Little button there. And I'll hit G. Try and grab that pocket. Command C, Command V, copy paste. We'll move that over to this side. Hit T, kind of adjust the corners. Using C to curve these pockets out a little bit. We can keep adding more and more detail, but for now, let's go ahead. Wait, let's turn the head back on for just a second. And I'm just using hitting U and grabbing where the skin would be. Make sure I have both fill and stroke on. I'm going to select that yellow for our character's color and hit spacebar or create shape. And then turn the head off again. I just wanted to get the skin color to be the same as the character. And I'll hit U. I'll select stroke and then just create shape as to make the lines of the character. Create shape. And we can keep adding detail to this, but now we have a shirt, and you can make it as detailed as you want. Let's do one more thing. Let's go ahead and make a badge. So like that. Pin it on him. But anyway, so now we have this shirt, and we want to make sure that the rest of the character looks good. So let's rotate our character. Let's turn on the body again. There's the 3D body. So we want to match the color. So all we have to do is go to Shirt, Color, use the eyedropper, and we'll pick the color off the shirt we just made. And that'll change that. And then go to Shirt Color 2. And then eyedrop using the stroke instead. And that'll change the arms. So now we have, let's go ahead and turn our character back around. Oh, using the XY rotate. Let's go ahead and get rid of the reference picture real quick. Turn the head group back on. Cowboy hat. Kinda. Looks more like an Amish hat or something. Let's see if I can move these points around a little more. Make it a little more cowboy looking. That does not look cowboy. Let's see. That's okay. So now we have a character that has a little bit more detail, and we can add more detail to the legs and things like that too, using the same technique. But let's check it out. Let's spin him around, grab the main folder. So now you can see the shirt is above, or is on the character now. And if I grab the head group, the hat's connected. I can go ahead and turn on the baseball cap instead. And the hat's connected there. Let's go ahead and change baseball. I'm changing the color, so I'm gonna select that. We're gonna create a new style. Baseball cap color. So if I hold shift down, I can change the color there. And then we're gonna make another one. Let's select the baseball bill. And I'm selecting the color we just made. Call this baseball cap color 2. So now it's now that we have those two color styles made, we can change the color of this hat really easy by going to baseball cap color. We can select, oops, I'll hold shift down for the main part, and then baseball cap color 2, just select that color, and we can make it a different color if we want to. So that's it for that. Now let's do a little bit of animating, just so you can see kind of how this character will work. And okay, I'm gonna get a sound clip so I can lip sync something real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, I found an audio clip that I can use, but from The Walking Dead. But let's make our character a little bit more Rick Grimes-ish from Walking Dead. So let's go ahead and first thing, let's start off by changing the style of the pants. We'll do a dark brown. That looks a little better. And then let's give him a beard. So under the head group, let's just go ahead and do a new vector layer. Call it beard. I'll select create new shape, and the autofill and stroker off. And what I'm going to do is draw a square around the mouth, and then another square above that, and then hit A and just kind of adjust that square that I just made, and kind of make a little beard. Hit A. And I'm keeping it kind of square just because it's a Lego character. So then we'll go ahead and hit U, because we're going to create a shape, and we want to select the outer square, and then hold shift down and select the inner square, and that's going to punch out that inner part for the mouth. And we'll go ahead and hit create shape, and it's going to just make it that brown that we just did for the pants, and that looks pretty good. So but let's make it see-through. So I'll hit Q and select it, and actually turn that color off, and then turn it down so it's see-through. And then maybe hit A and add a few more points just to make it look a little bit better. Again, you can always come back and fix these things later, but I'm just trying to get the main parts down. There's a little fake beard. But remember, when we add a new layer, if I grab the head group and turn it with the XY rotation, it's actually in the center of the head. So it's way back there. So we need to bring this forward to where the eyes and the mouth and stuff are. So let's double check where the eyes are. I'm going to just select one of them and do transform layer and see where the Z coordinate is. So it's 0.2601. So I'm just going to copy this, Command C, then I'll select the beard and then select Z again and Command V to paste. That just pushes the beard forward to where it needs to be. So if I select the head group and turn it, it's right there where the face should be. And let's go ahead and adjust it a little bit. Select the beard. Let's select the points and just kind of put it in the right place. And that looks pretty good. But as you can see, something that is kind of messing up is if I turn the head, oops, to the left or right, obviously the face is floating outside of our head area. And we don't want that. We want it to get hidden. So we're going to have to mask it. But we're going to have to use a kind of a trick because the head shape itself that's 3D isn't going to work. So what we'll do is I'll reset the character. And what I'm going to do is create a flat shape using the head. And our head shape right here is that line that I drew, half of the head in part 1. I'll go ahead and duplicate that. I'm going to call this head mask. And I'm going to put it underneath the head. It's going to be on the very bottom of our head group layer. We'll double click that and we're going to turn off the 3D option. So we're going to just say none and apply. And just so you guys can see what's going on, I'm going to turn the head off as well and the body or the face parts. We'll turn everything off. And you can see right now I have this half of the head drawn because that's what we use to make this 3D head. And we're going to make a copy of it. I'm going to turn it into a different color so it's a little easier to see. Skin color, none. So there's the stroke that we created to make the head. We're going to select all of it, head mask. I'm going to hit Command C, copy, and then Command V to paste. I'll flip it and move it over. And we know that this is the very center because at the very beginning we made sure that the X coordinate was right dead center and on coordinate 0. So let's go ahead and overlap those 2 points. Then I'll hit A and I'm just gonna tap on it and it's gonna connect those together. And we'll do the same for the bottom. And that just makes a solid shape. And this is gonna be our mask for our face shapes. So what we're gonna do is turn everything back on. Oops, not the baseball cap. And we're gonna double click the head group, say masking and hide all and apply. And then hit OK. And now we have the mask. Let's see. And everything else, let me turn the head. Should be able to see the eyes. Oh, let's double click the head mask, masking, and then say add to mask but keep invisible. And then hit apply. There we go. And then hit OK. So now there's a shape there that's masking it out. So if we turn the head, you'll notice that the face starts hiding when we turn it. But there's another problem. You can see right here it starts disappearing too early. That's because it's flat, that head mask that we just made. So we need to do one more thing. We'll double click the head mask, and where it says rotate to face camera, we're gonna say free pivot and hit apply and OK. And now let's test that again. And now you can see as we turn the head, it hides. Once the eyes and the beard and all that start going off the face, it starts hiding right over there because the mask is always facing the camera. So now we've got those head parts, and let's go ahead and let's see, what else should we do? Let's go ahead and let's give Rick some hair, just in case we want to take the hat off. So I'll turn the hat off. And then let's do another new vector layer. Call this hair. And drop it into the head group. And I'm just going to hit A and add some points, just a few, kind of round like that. I'll hit U, select the stroke itself, and we're just going to select the stroke and hit spacebar or create shape. And then we'll double click on the layer, and under 3D options we'll do lathe and apply. So now we've got this, it's black right now. Let's make that brown like his pants color. So I'll hit Q, select that stroke, and then hold shift down and make it brown. Oh, and let's double click the layer, make sure that the materials and the shading is turned to none. So now we've got brown. And let's go ahead and hit T and kind of let's move the hair where it's kind of supposed to be. Or maybe A and add some more points just to make it more round. And right now it's circling his head perfectly. Let's go ahead and turn the character's head to the side. So I'll hold Shift and Option and turn it sideways. That's completely sideways, and all we're going to do is move this back a little bit. So we'll click on the hair, click on Transform Layer, and Z. We'll just click on that, or you can type in 0.025. I'm just pushing it back so we can see more of the face. So now you can see it's got kind of a hairline going on here because we've pushed this shape back. But let's try and fix the side of the hair too. So let's select hair and maybe hit T and grab this bottom point and kind of bring it in right about there. Or maybe just trying to adjust. I don't want the hair to clip out in front of the face, so that's pretty good. It looks like it's clipping a lot, but I think it should render a little bit better. But now he has hair, so we can have that on, or we can turn the hair off, hide it, and put the cowboy hat on. And keep turning the head and stuff. Okay, so now let's go ahead and animate a little bit. So, reset. I'm just going to go into the timeline a little bit, and I'll go ahead and import the audio file. So File, Import, and this is just a little clip I found online. Audio file, and it's called COM. So here's it says, I'm going to play it real quick.
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic.
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic.
Manage that.
You think we can manage that? So the first thing I'm going to do to animate this is I'm going to just lip sync. So I'll go to the head group, and remember we created those smart bones, so let's do all of the lip syncing real quick. I'll hit T, select my mouth switch layer, and click in the center of the bone, and it creates a keyframe. I'll go ahead and right click on the keyframe and say step. The reason I'm doing step is because I want every keyframe that I create to just step to the next one that I choose and not cycle through all the other mouths. So
I'd like to have a calm.
Start saying I'd like to have a calm conversation. So right now his mouth is closed. Let's go ahead and go back to frame 0 actually, or 1, and make his mouth just neutral like that. And right click, make it step. And then let's go ahead and change the eyebrows too while we're here. Let's do angry. And I'll right click and put those on step 2. So the mouths, let's make sure. Okay, now all I'm doing is using my arrow keys to go back and forth and scrub through the timeline and listen. Eyed, so I'm gonna go ahead and make the ah sound. D, eyed, the teeth are together. Like, that's where the like is, so let's do an L. T sound, 2. We'll do an O, 2. Have, so have starts with a ah sound. Have, V, so we'll do V or an F like that. Have. I like to. Calm. Teeth together. Ah sound. Calm. And then the M is going to have the mouth closed.
Discussion. Discussion.
Calm. Discussion. So the D starts right here. So teeth together. Discussion. So that it opens a little bit. S sound. Teeth together. Discussion. Mouth open. Shh. The discussion. So teeth together again. Shh. Un. Teeth together for the N.
On this topic.
Shin. On this topic. So this is and lip syncing. You're gonna have to get used to trying to listen to the whole thing. You'll see me play the whole clip because it's really hard to from just a few frames to figure out what the sound is. So sometimes you have to and watch the mouth. So on this is topic. The P is going to have the mouth closed. Topic. Can't even really hear it right there. Pick. Think we can manage that. Think, so ink. Is it we? So the W is going to be an O-shaped sound too. We can
manage that.
There's an M in there, so need to close the mouth. Manage. That. Okay, let's play it and see how that looks.
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic. Discussion on this topic.
I think there's an N there.
Think we can manage that.
That looks pretty good.
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic. You think we can manage that?
So now that we have the lip syncing done, that's the first thing, is just to get the lip syncing. Now let's do some facial expression. So let's do some blinking. Let's click on the eyes, hit T and click in the center of the bone. Remember to change this to step. Anytime we create a new keyframe and it's set to smooth, we'll change it to step. And then go forward a couple frames. Then I'm going to change it to blink. Then I'll go forward a couple more. Open his eyes back up. So now we have a blink right there. I'm going to grab those 3 keyframes, Command C to copy. Then I'm going to go in here and just hit Command V in a couple places just to paste some blinks. So now we've got like 4 blinks going in.
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic. You think we can manage that?
Okay. And maybe let's change his eyebrow positions a couple times. So let's start off, instead of angry, let's do neutral. And maybe move them down a little bit. So we'll go to frame 1. Let's go ahead and grab the eyebrow folder, transform layer, and then just move them down a little bit. And then
I'd like to have a calm.
when he says calm, let's go ahead and change that to a different eyebrow position. So we'll hit T, grab that, and then do angry. So from here, since we moved it a little bit, let's go ahead and select the eyebrows, transform layer. I'm going to click in the center. That's going to create a keyframe. And then when we change it to angry, right there, let's make sure they're right above the eyes. So I just clicked it and dragged it up. So
I'd like to have a calm discussion. Think we can manage that?
then he says, think we can manage that. So let's go ahead and change that to puzzled look. So we'll go to right about here. Go into the bone group, change the eyebrows to puzzled. Right there.
Think we can manage that?
Okay. So now we have the face animated. Let's go ahead and animate the body. So to animate the body, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to be using a lot of the XY rotation. So let's go ahead and pose our character sideways. I'll choose the main group and use XY rotation, turn him kind of sideways a little bit. And we'll go to frame 1. And then we're going to need to create start frames and end frames for our position. So let's go ahead and grab his upper body. And with the XY rotation selected, we'll go ahead and turn him a little bit this way. That creates a keyframe. And we're not going to do step this time because we want him to kind of move around from one to the other. So if I go forward and then turn his body a little bit more and down, it's going to slowly go from one position to the other. So
I'd like to have a calm discussion.
okay, so let's do that again. So for a little bit, he'll be standing here. I'm just going to grab him and move him slightly. It'll create a keyframe. When he starts talking, I'll have him bend over and turn a little bit.
I'd like to have a calm.
And then again, we need to make a start frame. So anytime we want to move him, make sure you do a start frame. So click and move him a little bit, go forward, and then position him again. I'm going to have him turn to the right a little bit.
discussion on this topic. You think
And then we'll do the act like he's talking to two people. So when he says,
on this topic,
you think we can manage that, I'll have a start frame on 96. And then I'll have him turn back over to this imaginary person this way. Okay?
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic. You think we can manage that?
And we'll do the same thing with the head. We can grab the head group. So go forward in the timeline anywhere you want. Make sure you have XY rotation selected. I'll click and move it just a tiny bit. It creates a keyframe. And then I'll go forward. And I'll have him tilt his head even more so.
I'd like to have a calm.
Go in the timeline, move him a little bit, forward a little more. Let's put his head back.
Discussion on this topic.
Do a little start frame, move him a little bit, and then look down.
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic. You think we can manage that?
Okay? So as you can see, I'm just doing body part by body part. Now let's go ahead and do his arms. So the arms are a little bit different. So if you want to rotate them, if I click on the right arm and do transform layer, I can actually swivel them left to right. So you can lift his arm straight up to the side, or we can hit the transform XY and kind of swivel it around. But I'm gonna use the first method, and we'll go to frame 1, and I'm gonna use the transform layer, and I have to click on in between the middle box and the outer box, inner and outer, so we can rotate it. So I'm gonna rotate his arm up a little bit, then I'll go ahead and grab his subfolder, lower arm, and rotate that so he puts his hand on his hip. Grab the arm again. Let's make sure he's got his hand kind of touching his waist. We'll do the same thing with the other side. So left arm, rotate it up a little bit, open up his folder, use the subfolder, do the lower arm, and put his hands on his hips.
I'd like to have a calm.
Okay, so now when he starts talking, let's move one of his arms forward. So we'll start here, frame 30, and instead of the transform layer, let's go ahead and use XY. So I'll just click and move it just a tiny bit. So see that? It makes keyframes. And then we'll go forward a little bit, and then we'll have him kind of point or kind of gesture to somebody. So I'll grab and kind of, oh, we're on the lower arm. Let's undo, Command Z. We need to have we want to grab the shoulder. So let's click on the left arm, the main group, and when we start talking, let's go to frame 30, click and move it just a tad, creates a keyframe, go forward a little bit, then we'll rotate his arm coming out.
I'd like to have a calm.
Bring that a little closer.
I'd like to have a calm discussion.
When he turns, we'll make his arm move again. So we'll start right here and move it a little bit. And we'll pivot it back down. Let's use let's go back and use the transform layer and spin it a little bit. So we'll click to create a rotate. And I'm gonna move his arm like that, a little bit in front of him, and use the XY rotation to kind of, let's see. It's a little tricky. I'm trying to get him to, maybe we'll rotate his arm down a little bit. So let's go ahead and do the sub layer. I'll click on that to rotate it. put his arm down a little bit.
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic.
And now let's have him point with his other arm. Okay, so we'll start here. And now we'll animate the other arm, the right arm a little bit. So I'll click on that. And if you want to reset everything, let's make his arm go back to being straight down. So let's start on 96 and click on the rotation. And on the sub layer, subgroup, we'll do the rotation. We're just making keyframes. And then we'll go forward a little bit. And then just reset the angles. So just click reset so it straightens out. And then we'll do the same for the top one and reset that. And I think we're gonna have to use the XY rotation. I'll create a keyframe to start. And then, oops, no. Let's just rotate it down. Then we'll have him point. So let's go ahead and do a start keyframe for the XY rotation. And then I'll have him just point, kind of, at somebody.
I think we can manage that.
Maybe make it a little bit quicker. And there we have
I'd
it.
like to have a calm discussion on this topic. Do you think we can manage that?
Okay, so there's just some basic animation for the character. As far as walking and stuff, let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and reset everything. So with the right arm selected, I'm going to hit reset. And then let's go to left arm, reset that. And all of its rotation, we'll reset that. And the upper body, we'll go ahead and reset. So he's facing up again, and then let's reset his head too. So select the head group. Move it a little bit and then reset it. There we go. So now our character's facing forward. Again, he's kind of turned a little bit because I turned the entire character. Now I'll just make him walk. So to make him walk, I'm going to go ahead, go forward a little bit. And in the very top layer, I've made some bones for the legs, remember? So I'll hit T. And I'm going to hold shift down so it snaps at a 45-degree angle. I'll make this leg go forward a little bit. Right leg, I'll make it go back like that. Actually, let's undo. Let's start by just clicking on the bones for both of these to make keyframes for starting the walk. Then we'll go forward a little bit. We'll go to 144. Oops, 144. I'll go ahead and hold shift down, make this leg go forward, make this leg go back. The arms, I will use XY rotation. So the right arm, I'll click and hold shift and option. And I'm going to swing, since this leg is going backwards, the arm should go forward. So I'll make it go forward, hold shift option, drag up a little bit. And then left arm is the opposite, shift option and down. So now that arm's back, that one's forward. And let's go ahead. So now we're going to make a little cycle. So from 144 to 168, I'll go ahead and go to 156 in between. We have the left arm selected. Now we're going to do the opposite. We'll swing that forward. And then we'll hold shift and option and then swing it back on 168. So now it's swinging back and forward. Let's do the same for the right arm. Go to 156, have that swing back, and have it swing forward on 168. Let's go ahead and cycle those. I'll do a right click on the last keyframe, cycle, relative to playback, and then we'll type in 22. And maybe that's supposed to be, let's do 23. 23. Do the same thing for the right arm, right click, cycle, relative to playback, 23. What that's doing is telling it to cycle back 23 frames relative to where I selected. So the arms are swinging now. Let's do the same for the legs. Click that top layer. So we have the right leg, go to 156. Let's hit T, hold shift down and have it go forward. And then on 168, make it go back again. Right click, cycle, relative to playback, 23. We'll do it for the other leg. So I'll click on this, click on 156, make it go back, then 168, make it go forward. We'll right click the keyframe, cycle, relative to playback, 23. There we go. And let's do, with the arms, let's do one more thing. Let's go into the right arm. So the right arm's, is that the right arm's going back first? So at 150, we'll go ahead and grab the lower part of the arm and hold shift and option with the XY rotation and just bend it a little bit. Oops. Oh, this is going to be tricky. So, okay. So right here, I'm creating keyframing, holding shift and option down and just moving it a little bit so it creates a keyframe. Then I'm going to 150 and I'm rotating his arm just a tiny bit. And then on 168, I'm making it go straight again. And then I'm going to cycle that relative to playback to 23. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Let me see. Okay, what I'm doing is bending the elbow a little bit, then making it go straight again. Just making it look a little bit more realistic when he walks. I'm going to do the same for the left arm. So open up the left arm, lower, and starting on 144, hold shift and option, move just a tiny bit. That just creates a keyframe. And since this is the opposite arm, we're going to have to do it on 162. And then 168, I'll straighten it out again. And let's right click, cycle, relative to playback, 23. There we go. Let's also make him move his torso a little bit. So click the upper body and I'll hit shift and option, move him just a tiny bit. It doesn't actually move him. And then 156, I'll have him lean forward a little bit. And then I'm going to copy and paste keyframe 144. Copy, Command C, 168, paste. And that just makes him go back. And then I'll cycle that. Cycle relative to playback, 23. And then last thing that we're gonna do is we'll make him bounce a little bit so he looks like he's really walking. So I'm gonna grab the transform layer tool, grab the entire body, so the Lego guy, top one. I'll click on 144. I'm just gonna click on him. That's gonna create a keyframe right at the bottom. Then on 150, I'll move him down a little bit. Select those two keyframes, Command C. Go to 156, Command V, paste, and then 168. I'm going to paste again, and this is just going to create the bobbing motion of the walk, like that. So I'll go ahead and select that last keyframe, cycle, relative to playback, 23. Now we should have a walk cycle. So let's go ahead and go back to the very beginning. Oops.
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic. You think we can manage that?
And there's our walk cycle. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of this character into another folder. And the reason I'm doing this is so I can spin him around, because if I try and spin him around, I don't think. Oh yeah, maybe not. No, I'm not going to put him in another folder. I'm just going to have him spin around so you can kind of see his walk cycle from all angles. So he's going to start walking here. So I'm just going to use the XY rotation for the entire character. Oops. So I'm just going to tap on him a little bit, and then I'm going to go forward in the timeline. Let's go to 300. I'll hold Shift and Option, and I'm just going to spin the character around. And let's see if he walks around kind of in a
discussion on this topic. You think we can manage that?
There we go. Let's go ahead and... Where'd I put that? 300. There it is. Let's make that a little bit slower. So I'll pull this out, this keyframe out. And if I can grab it. Why can't I grab it? There we go. Pull that out to like 504. And let's rotate him all the way around, so he's facing forward. So now let's check that out.
I'd like to have a calm discussion on this topic. You think we can manage that?
And there it is, our character in 3D, moving completely in 3D space, doing a spinning walk, and yeah, that's it. So I think that's it for this. Sorry for the very, very long tutorial, but you know, I wanted to make sure I covered everything. It's pretty complex now that I look at it, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions, just leave them down below. And I promise the next few tutorials will be really short. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Check out the other videos and check out my digital store on Gumroad.